Osiris is not a human, he's a god.
He's the symbol of justice. He's the symbol of everything good in ancient Egypt.
He is all about rebirth and resurrection.
Legend has it that thousands of years ago, there was a king called Osiris. He ruled Egypt with justice, an ambassador for the poor and the rich, a leader with integrity. He met a brutal death at the hands of his jealous brother. But he was still alive in the hearts of his people. They worshipped him as a god and believed that in death he had become the king of the afterlife. Thousands of years on, his story still resonates with people in some corners of today's troubled Egypt. Egyptologists have studied the remains of ancient Egypt to discover more about Osiris. One of them is Mahmud Hassan. He was born in Luxor, home to the ruins of temples and tombs. This city is often called an open-air museum. Inspired by these striking remains and what they meant to Egypt, Mahmud studied Egyptology.
I am in between all these important monuments in the world. So I am coming from the source of the Egyptian history. Let's go to Abydos.
Today, he is visiting Abydos, a temple built for Osiris by one of the kings of ancient Egypt.
God Osiris is the god of afterlife, the king of afterlife. And the deceased want to unify with God Osiris in afterlife, to join him in his journey.
Life after death was of great importance to ancient Egyptians. They believed if Osiris approved of them, they would enter paradise. Mahmud has spent many days at Abydos to find out more about the god of the afterlife. Inside the temple are elaborate pictures that pay tribute to Osiris and reveal who he was.
Let's go to the paradise of Osiris. Osiris is the symbol of justice. He's the symbol of everything good in ancient Egypt.
People attach the values they most admired to Osiris. Osiris wears an Atef crown, a symbol of his authority over the afterlife. The feathers on either side of the crown represent truth, justice, morality, and balance. In each picture, he also holds two scepters. One symbolizes peace and stability, and the other is a sign that he is a ruler.
Look at here. He's doing, the king doing bought perfume for the god Osiris here, and behind him his son Horus. Look at here. Jid Medu'in Her Sa Ozir. Horus, the son of Osiris. Okay? Look what he holds in his hand. This is the symbol of linen. The king changed the clothes every day for the god Osiris in his shrine. And here also he's doing the same rituals. Okay? Until he reached to god Osiris again here and change the necklaces, okay, and put another one, okay, and behind him his beautiful wife, she's hugging him, so with two wings.
Osiris's family were key to his life. To reflect this, each picture of Osiris includes images of his wife, Isis, and his son, Horus. In this image, King Seti I, who built the temple, appeals to Osiris to allow him to join Osiris in the afterlife when he dies. He presents the sign of justice as part of his pledge.
The king Min Ma'atra, or Seti I, present the sign of justice, or the sign of goddess Ma'i, in front of them. So he wants to say for them, I rule Egypt with justice, so accept me in your afterlife and accept me as a son or a member of your divine family.
Kings like Seti I wanted to get a place in heaven. They tried to please Osiris while they were still alive, so that after they died, he may allow them into the afterlife. There was a grueling ritual the dead had to go through before they could gain entry to paradise.
Whenever somebody died, they went through the whole, lots of spells, the most notable being the weighing of the heart ritual, which we have discussions from, or evidence from in the Book of the Dead. And Anubis, who's also a mummification death deity or god, also would bring the deceased to have his heart weighed.
On one side of the scale is placed his heart, the deceased's heart, okay? And on the other side of the scale is placed the feather of truth, or Ma'at. And Ma'at was a goddess representing truth and justice and conquering chaos, because the ancient Egyptians, they didn't like chaos, they wanted order, okay? And that's what Ma'at represented, order, justice, and truth, okay? So the heart would be weighed against this feather of truth. And if it was heavier, then it would be devoured by a beast that sat underneath, waiting to, gobble up the wicked, right? If, however, it balanced, then the person could be issued on and brought before the throne of Osiris, where they kind of be welcomed into the afterlife.
At a summer camp, these Egyptian teenagers performed a play that demonstrates exactly how Osiris became god of the afterlife. Nadim Noor, who played Osiris' son, Horus, directed the performance.
When we originally made it, we had very limited time to do it. And we wanted to do something very folklorish, something very traditional. And as far as stories goes, there's this is possibly the most traditional story there is.
أنا السيدة الأولى حياتي بين يوم وليلة اتقلبت غم وقلة حيلة وبقت حكايتي.
While Osiris ruled Egypt with a watchful eye, there was a shocking tragedy that shook his world.
His brother Set was extremely jealous of him and so wanted the throne for himself. So what he did was he went and actually killed his brother, and to make sure that he would never be found, chopped him up into little pieces and spread him along the Nile.
Osiris's jealous brother Set seized the throne and became king. His wife Isis was left devastated. So she collected her husband's pieces and put him back together.
Isis, Osiris's wife, went and gathered the pieces together and bound them together. After 3 days, Osiris came back to life. Osiris was resurrected, and he was the first to do so in the ancient Egyptian mythology. And so that provides him a unique position in the afterlife.
While he was alive, Osiris ruled Egypt. In death, he ruled the afterlife. Theater director Hani El-Matanawi ran the camp where these teenagers performed the play. It was a surprise to Hani that these teenagers chose to reenact the legend because it is not widely talked about in Egypt today.
Really surprised because they are 15 years old and they are interested in really old story, maybe the oldest story we know, and really not a lot of people talk about it. When we see people talking about this or talking about gods, other gods, and especially when they say that our fathers and were praying to these gods, people who are in these religions, the written religions, are really getting afraid of this.
But in the streets of Egypt's capital, Cairo, has Osiris really been forgotten?
عمرنا ما اتكلمنا عن القصة دي غير دلوقتي حالا. يعني ممكن نكون درسناها قبل كده في المدرسة بس بعد كده ما اتكلمناش عنها يعني ما حدش كان بيسألنا عليها كتير.
هي يمكن قصة إيزيس وأوزوريس كانت قصة قديمة أنا فاكرة منها يعني حاجات بسيطة جدا، لكن هي كانت عبارة عن خير وشر. الناس دلوقتي يعني فعلا يعني على الرغم ان احنا استخلصنا من ان في خير وفي شر، لكن احنا لو بصينا للموضوع نفسه هنلاقيه اصلا مفيد. لو ان احنا بنستفيد كده دلوقتي من تاريخنا، احنا كلنا في الاخر خير. احنا لو بصينا دلوقتي لنفسنا كمصريين هنلاقي كلنا اصلا دلوقتي في قلبنا الخير، لكن بنعتقد ان قدامنا ده هو الشر. لو احنا دلوقتي لو لمينا شملنا واعتقدنا كلنا اعتقاد ان احنا كلنا فينا الخير لبعض، مش كلنا هنتجمع وفي الاخر الخير هو اللي هينتصر، لان هو اصلا بطبيعته جوانا.
لو لحد مش عارف، المفروض ان احنا نقرا كتير عن كل التاريخ المصري، مش شرط عن دول بس، يعني عن كل التاريخ بتاعنا المفروض نقرا ونبقى عارفين اكتر. المفروض الناس تعرف ان اللي مش عارف، يعني لو انا زاير لو انا سايح، المفروض الناس تعرفني ده كله، تعرف البلد اللي انا بزورها دي فيها ايه، تاريخها عامل ازاي.
Daniel Johnson came to the American University in Cairo from the USA to study archaeology, believing that there was something to learn about the present day from the past. He looked into what is represented by the different colors that Osiris is depicted in.
He is all about rebirth and resurrection. His skin, in most of the iconography, the drawings on tomb walls and on papyrus and things like that, you'll see him drawn with either green or black skin. And that is to represent his role in the rebirth of Egypt.
Thousands of years on, justice is still a key value for Egyptians. This can be dramatically seen from the protest artwork in Cairo's streets. It had become a striking feature of the city during the Egyptian Revolution. The art mirrors the changes Egyptians are calling for in their societies. People took to the streets to protest against former President Hosni Mubarak. They wanted truth, justice, and morality. Former art history lecturer Ammar Abu Bakr started painting on street walls when the revolution began. He draws the faces of activists who lost their lives to police violence.
بس فابتديت معاه من اللحظه دي ان انا ابتديت اجيب سبريهات واحطها في الشنطه واخد جمل معينه وابتدي اكتبها بس على كل الحيطان بشكل بسيط، يعني زي اي حد بيبقى معاه سبراي وبيكتب على الحيطه جمل مهمتها ان هي توصل رساله معينه.
He was an assistant professor in ancient Egyptian art at Luxor's Faculty of Fine Arts when protests started. As the revolution spiraled, he left his post of 8 years at the faculty and moved to Cairo. He is one of the main artists who paints next to Tahrir Square on Mohammed Mahmoud Street, which is known for protest graffiti. Ammar integrates modern concepts with themes from ancient Egypt.
يعني يحدد شكلي ويحدد مصريتي هي الحاجات المصرية القديمة، هي طريقة تفكيرهم، طريقة طرحهم للرموز كده يعني.
أنا بشتغل على أكتر من حاجة، يعني بحاول أعمل ميكس كتير جدا. يعني المفروض إن ده بيمثل أوزوريس أو بيمثل الميكس اللي حاصل دوت من 3 حاجات. انت يعني ممكن يكون في حاجة فيها أكتر من فترة يعني زمنية، يعني ده مثلا من الشكل اللي من فوق ده أكتر قريب من المصري القديم. الجزء اللي في الوسط ده ممكن يكون ده الطريقة اللي بتصلي بيها المسلمين. الجزء اللي تحت ده دي الأقدام أو الرجلين بتاعت عيسى المسيح.
فممكن يكون ده هو شكل أوزوريس اللي أنا عايز أقوله النهاردة مثلا في 2014.
يا ورد يا ورد.
يعني هو جزء، يعني أوزوريس هو جزء من الإرث بتاعي. أنا بشوفه زي ما أنا عايز أشوفه الإله، أشوفه ابن الإله، أشوفه النبي، أشوفه يعني فكرة الموحد أو اللي هو أو المظلوم أو المقهور يعني.
According to the legend, dramatic events followed Osiris's death. His brother Seth had seized the throne, but his reign did not last for long. People revolted against Seth. They wanted to be led by someone like Osiris, not his evil brother. His son Horus took it upon himself to get revenge for his father's murder.
Horus became the killer of his uncle because his uncle was the killer of his father.
Horus takes the throne back from Set and becomes the true king of Egypt.
Horus's role in the legend was to restore justice. He was a powerful force that defeated evil. Nadim, like other Egyptian youth, had been skeptical about what the future would hold.
Before this, I was incredibly cynical towards life, and I figured humans would be what they are. Right? They would be violent, and there would always be violence, and there will always be injustice in the world. But this legend sort of gives me sort of a little bit of hope that people a long time ago thought that justice could be made, and perhaps they're right.
Ammar has immersed themes of the modern-day Egyptian struggle against oppression into his painting.
فأنا حاسس إن الثوار عاملين زي الدبان أو الشعب المصري الحكومة بتتعامل معاه كأنه دبان. الدبان كمان ليه أكتر من معنى، يعني الدبان ده كائن ضعيف جدا، ممكن إن هو بمنتهى السهولة إن أنت بتقضي عليه، وأعتقد ده تصرف الحكومة معانا احنا كبني آدمين، يعني هي بتتصرف معانا بتقتلنا زي الدبان، بتقتل الناس في الشارع زي الدبان، بس في نفس الوقت الدبان ده رزل، يعني الدبان ده مش بيسيب مكانه بسهولة، يعني أنت بتهشه بيرجع تاني، بتهشه بيرجع تاني. ممكن الناس تكون بتستحقر الدبان، بس في نفس اللحظة الدبان ليه وظايف، وان الدبان وظايفه ان هو يقعد ياكل ناموس وياكل كائنات تانية برضه بتضايقك وبتزعجك.
مش مهم ان انا ارسم على قدر ما مهم ان انا بدور وبحاول اجرب، يعني مش اهميه الشيء ان انا لازم ارسم النهارده اوزوريس او لازم في الوقت ده ارسم اوزوريس، على قد ما هو موجود جوه الارث بتاعك بتاع الذاكره، الارث بتاعك بتاع المعلومات، يعني فهو داخل في كل الاشياء.
Ammar has used the badge worn by military police to make a point.
دي المفروض ان هي بتبقى كده اهو، بس فكانت الفكرة ان هي تبقى كده اهو. تبقى شبه يعني انا عايز اقول كلام ممكن اكون قاصد بيه، يعني اكيد بتهكم او بسخر من البوليس المصري، من تصرفاته مع الشعب، فعلا مهين يعني او حاجة مشينة. بس دي فكرتي مع الكلوت بتاع الامن المركزي.
Some other Egyptians have also made connections between Osiris's legend and today's Egypt. People nowadays see the pre-Mubarak era as being somewhat idyllic. Looking back, many see that period as just moral and balanced. They believe Mubarak brought in a system where those qualities were squeezed out of Egyptian society. Under his regime, political figures and activists were imprisoned without trial. The press was censored, and there was a dramatic rise in corruption. Egyptologist Mahmoud draws a parallel between Osiris's evil brother Seth and Mubarak.
We can compare between Set and Mubarak, okay, because they are the same in their, in their era. Mubarak was, he looked after himself only. He don't look after people, but Osiris look after people. When Set do the same, okay, and Set do the bad things, the people never liked him like Osiris. So they beat him and they fight him, and also they made also revolution against Set because they don't want to let him to be a king of them.
The Egyptian revolution that started on January 25th, 2011, overthrew Mubarak in 18 days.
In the revolution in the 2011, people went into the street saying red freedom, social justice. It is really very strange that we people now, after 6,000 years, we're still asking for the same things. It's the long fight between justice and injustice.
The legacy Osiris left after he died overthrew Seth, according to the legend.
He represents how people can overcome things, not necessarily by a certain person, but as a movement. Like he couldn't defeat Seth, but the idea he had, or the people he inspired or had an effect on, could.
Seth is the god of disorder and chaos. Our story basically says that people didn't like having chaos and disorder. They helped Horus come and defeat him. So I said that people, if they don't like the disorder and don't like the system, they will help overthrow it.
Horus's role in this particular story is to return that justice, to return the balance towards the situation. Whereas an injustice well done, it needs to be repaid. No matter what the case is, no matter who's king, no matter what, or even as long as time goes, eventually balance should and hopefully will return. Right? Whether at the hands of a dethroned prince or at the hands of a normal person, it doesn't matter.
Osiris is not a human, he's a god. So I don't think we need a god, or we need a man or a woman or somebody. Yani. We need people. This is the most important thing in the story. People who come together and think together and getting united.
أوزيريس بالنسبة لي ده اللي هو يعني احنا في الثورة ما نزلناش عشان معانا قائد، او احنا ما كانش ينفع ان احنا يكون معانا قائد، او ان الجيل ده نفسه ما ترباش ان هو يكون عنده قائد. كانت في جملة كده مكتوبة زمان على الحيطة، كنت بحب الطاقة بتاعت الجملة، يعني كانوا كاتبين احنا القائد اللي كلنا مستنيينه. هو ده انا بشوف أوزيريس ده يعني حاليا هو ده فكرة القائد اللي هو موجود في كل الناس، اللي هي حتى هي نفسها مرتبطة كمان بفكرة الإله. يعني الإله ده موجود في كل الناس، موجود جوه الناس نفسها، فكل واحد في جزء من الإله، فهو كل واحد في جزء من القائد، فيبقى كل الناس دي قائد، أو كل الناس دي هي الإله.